to No Brainer MMA. Going to be going over UFC 282. I think also just found out Santiago Ponzinibbio and Robbie Lawler is off. Robbie Lawler had an injury of some sort. I don't know. News just broke like 10 minutes ago. I'm not totally sure. So I'm only going to be going on over five of these right now. Yeah, let me just get right to it. We're going to start with Bryce Mitchell versus Ilia Topuria. This one's the battle of the undefeated grapplers, and it really is just like a pretty amazing matchup. Bryce Mitchell has a 15-0 record, 6-0 in the UFC. Ilia Topuria has a 12-0 record, 4-0 in the UFC. There's a lot on the line here. Bryce Mitchell, who everyone knows as this crazy submission threat, he really actually only has one submission inside the UFC. It was a twister. It was awesome, super cool. But yeah, just that one so far in 6 fights. And say what you want about the guy. I think 80% of the shit that comes out of his mouth is absolutely just hot trash, just spewing out of his mouth, just insanely stupid. But this guy could be like Mensa based on his fight IQ of just really great fight IQ and probably has the best body triangle in the game right now, I would say. Once he gets a hold of you, it's just really tough to gain any space from him after that. Or if he takes you down or takes your back, like you're not going to get back to your feet. Besides his grappling, Bryce Mitchell, I think, has made huge strides in his striking. And he proved that in his last time out when he knocked down Edson Barboza and ended up with 11 minutes of control time, more control time than Khabib had on Edson Barboza. And there was a 25-30 round on the judges' scorecard, which is just, I don't know how many times we've seen that this year or ever. He'll be taking on Ilia Topuria, who was also looking super impressive. He's 4-0 in the UFC on a 3-fight KO winning streak, and even took his last fight on short notice up a weight class against Jai Herbert. So props for him for that. He did win, but it was the first time we saw him look human. Herbert did land a knockdown on Topuria. He recovered, landed one of his own, but still, it was pretty shaky for a little bit in that first round. Topuria has some really heavy hands, and he looks for a knockout in every shot he throws, which leads him to telegraph his shots. This fight is so crazy close, but I think I'll go with Mitchell. The pace of this fight, I think, is going to be intense, and I'm worried about Tuporia's gas tank. We've seen him slow down really bad against Yusuf Salal in his debut, with the only time he went to decision in the UFC, and it was like drastic slowdown. And Bryce Mitchell has some insane cardio, and that's how I kind of see this fight going back and forth through the first 2 rounds, and then I think Mitchell takes over in the third, and I think Mitchell gets it. So I'm going to go with Bryce Mitchell in that one, and we're going to move right into the next one, which is Darren Till versus Dricus du Plessis. Another fight, another time, Darren Till says, "Oh, I'm coming back, and you're going to see the best I've ever looked." Yeah, I always thought this guy was kind of overrated, but I don't know how people can still think that he's good or he has like a shot. This dude literally got hype from beating Wonder Boy. You know, he had a 5-0-1 start to the UFC, not over any high level competition up until that one fight. He had a draw with Nicholas Dalby, who I think Nicholas Dalby's, he's a fun striker. I wouldn't necessarily say like elite, but he's fun, exciting to watch. And then he beat an old Donald Cerrone at welterweight, and then 3 other just random guys that were in and out of the UFC. And then he shocked the world with that Wonder Boy win. If there's a fight you don't want to watch, it's that fight. It was one of the most boring fights. He played it so safe. It was terrible. Every round had less than 20 combined strikes. I think the first 2 rounds had like less than 10 that combined. Just really terrible. I'm going to put it in here right now. I don't have it right now, but when I edit this, I'll put it in for you guys. Since that win over Wonder Boy, he's gone 1-4. And that win was a split decision over Kelvin Gastelum. But I thought Gastelum won that 2-1. I think he's basically on an 0-5 run right now. And Till's tried everything. He's changed camps. He changed weight classes. But I think, how many more excuses do you got? I would say this is probably his final chance, though. So he is desperate for a win. He's taken on Dricus du Plessis, who's 3-0 since joining the UFC. He's a second-degree black belt in kickboxing, and it shows. His strikes are sharp, crisp, tremendous hand speed. He's gunshot leg kicks. But don't call this guy one-sided like you might call Darren Till one-sided, just a striker. He has a surprisingly dominant sub game, and also he's got great cardio. Like you see a lot of like Kickboxers, they go whatever amount of rounds, like double the amount of UFC or triple sometimes. And, usually they have pretty good cardio. I think and he does. He's shown that. And I think everyone knows where I'm going with this one. I'm gonna have to go with Duplessis, and at a minus 150, I think that's a pretty good steal right there. Right, we're gonna move right into the next one: Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. Now, I know my takes on Paddy Pimblett aren't the most popular, but in all honesty, I think that he's just overrated, man. But people are hypnotized by his bad Conor McGregor impression. He is 3-0 since joining the UFC, all by finish, all performance of the night awards. But take a closer look. He got rocked by Luigi Vendramini, who went 1-3 before being let go by the UFC. Then he got controlled by Kazula Vargas on the ground and tripled Paddy Pimblett's strikes before Paddy caught him in the sub. And his last time out, he lost the first round to Jordan Leavitt. It's really hard not to be critical of the guy, especially considering he talks such a big game. He does have a very dangerous sub game, being a first degree black belt in BJJ. And his striking isn't bad either. Fast, powerful hands. He just leaves his chin up. No head movement, just a gigantic target. And he's going to be taking on Jared Gordon, who's 4-1 in his last 5. Gordon is a great, well rounded guy. He has really great boxing, a plus 2.4 striking differential at 58% accuracy, but he also has a wrestling background that has resulted in 2 takedowns per fight at almost 40% accuracy. Gordon is tough as nails and has that never back down mentality. And if you want to beat him, you have to finish him. He's actually finished. He's been finished in all 4 of his UFC losses. But I think the biggest thing in Gordon's favor is his cardio and his constant pushing of the pace. We all know Pimblett gains 40 pounds or whatever, 35, 40 pounds in between camps. 4 out of Paddy's last 5 fights have not seen past the first round. He hasn't seen the judges' scorecard since a loss in Cage Warriors against a very tough guy in Sorenbach. And that loss also kickstarted this 5-fight winning streak he's on. So it wasn't too long ago. I think we're going to see a Gordon decision or a Paddy finish. But right now, I'm leaning towards that Jared Gordon decision. So I'm going to go with him in this one. And we're going to move right into the main event, which is Jan Błachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. So this main event was supposed to be Glover Teixeira and Jiri Prochazka, but Jiri had a horrific shoulder injury he suffered during his camp, and he's going to be out for at least a year and needs surgery and everything. And in straight badass fashion, he vacated almost immediately, so he wouldn't hold up the division, which is just a class act. So now this fight will be for the light heavyweight title. And I've always said Jan is not done being champ. He's just such a smart, well-rounded guy. A tough matchup for everyone. He's a Muay Thai striker with massive punching power, smothering grappling game. Jan is 6-1 in his last 7, beating the likes of Israel Adesanya, Alexander Rakic, Corey Anderson, Dominick Reyes, finishing all but Adesanya by KO. I was kind of surprised to see that the odds for this way farther apart than I would have guessed. Jan is at a plus 200 and Clive is at a minus 250 basically at this point. Jan is no stranger to being the underdog. Both of his title wins, he was the underdog. He was the underdog in his last time out against Rakic. He was the underdog against Corey Anderson, the fight right before his title reign. Basically, during this 6-1 run, he's been the underdog in 5 out of 7 of those fights. He's taken on Magomed Ankalaev, who is on a 9-fight winning streak and has an 18-1 record with that lone loss coming from his UFC debut against Paul Craig. And although he comes from Dagestan, he does not fight like his fellow countrymen. He's a striker through and through. And besides power, he does have the edge overall in striking. He's more technical, faster, higher volume. And I give Jan the grappling advantage. But Ankalaev has such a great takedown defense. He was only taken down once during his 9-fight winning streak. This fight is tough. Jan is an underdog as always, and that to me is going to be too good to pass up. So I am going to go with Jan Błachowicz in that one, and that's it. Only a 4-fight card main event. Have the prelims and everything up later on in the week. All right, thanks guys. No brainer.